Have you heard of interactive fiction? I believe there is an app for that. Hello, I'm Angela, and yes, I tried out what's called Unearthed Stories. So this is an app for interactive fiction, and the real good thing about it is they're all fantasy and sci-fi stories that you get with this. Unearthed Stories was developed by Livia Elliot and her partner. Livia is the author of the stories, and she's also the creator of a lot of the visual material that you get with this. And her partner is like the coding brain behind this. And together they're behind Prowess Games, like a very small indie studio. And they're producing this app called Unearthed Stories. So what do you get with this? So when you open the app, it then gets you to this start screen, and you can see here that you get different types of stories. So you have novellas and novelettes, and then you have what's called the World of Del Rey. Those are more cozy fantasy, slice of life fantasy, and you get 3 of those. They're shorter, and then you get 3 more adult ones that are a bit longer, and this one is an example of Dance With Me, which is about a ballerina on top of a music box, and you can see the different chapters are still locked, so you have to read through each chapter so that you kind of get the new one. And then when you open the chapter, you get the text, and you get also like different options to choose from. So it's like a choose your own adventure story. And yeah, so they also come with artwork. Like here you can see some of the artwork is locked because the artwork is embedded into those stories. So when you progress in the story, then different types of artwork will unlock. Though this example now is from a restorer, so you can see the cover art and then the first picture that is already unlocked in this example. So this is how the app is built up, and what it looks like. It also comes with options where you can change the background, and you can change the font size and things like that to make this as pleasant a reading experience to you as possible. So as I say, this is an app. It's downloadable for free. But then you have to watch ads to unlock chapters, unlock stories. I didn't have to do this, so in the sense of full transparency, the developers were kind enough to give me an ad-free version. So I cannot really tell you how obnoxious those ads get while you read this. But also you have the option of in-app purchase to get an ad-free version. And I think this came up on my system. I'm in the Eurozone, so it came up as €5.49, I think. If I compare that to what I spent on an average ebook, then I think this is still a very good, how shall I say, price-value ratio, because you get 6 stories in total with this app. Now let's get to the stories a bit more, kind of like, so what type of stories do you get? What are they like? Character development, world building, all the good stuff. So as I say, you get 6 stories, and 3 are all set in the same world, the world of Del Rey. They're all cozy fantasy. Now out of those, I completely read Harold. Harold is about a cat who thinks it's a spy and tries to establish new spy headquarters in a tailor shop. That's the basic plot. And yeah, as it's interactive, so you become this character. You become this cat and are kind of like running around, jumping on roofs, and decide what are you gonna do next. So you get different options and different choices. What I found very nice as well with this story, as well with other stories, is you get a lot of visual material as well on how, like when the cat starts to talk, you get the different meows and they're printed in different sizes. When the cat takes a nap in the sun, for example, and falls asleep, your screen will go dark. So there is kind of like a lot of little interest in that respect. Harold is just a charming little story. It's very much at the lower end when it comes to ages for the stories, so the age range. This could be read by middle grade, I would say. It's definitely suitable for children. The other two are really more on the maybe young adult spectrum, which I only sampled. I didn't read them fully. I had a look at all three of the more adult examples. So we have Dance With Me. Dance With Me is about a porcelain ballerina that's on top of a music box and becomes alive in a way. And as a reader, you become this ballerina. All the adult stories come with trigger warnings. So Dance With Me says depression and emotional abuse. So that's something you might want to keep in mind as well when you want to read those stories. The next one here is then Mean. Mean is the darkest and also the longest of the stories. Mean is a full-length novel. It has over 100,000 words. I'm almost at the end of Mean. It's like a, let's say, political, philosophical intrigue story set in a fantasy world. As I say, they're all like fantasy or sci-fi. And yeah, your Mean is an alchemist who is kind of sucked into this intrigue. And the last of the adult ones is called Restorer. Restorer is the sci-fi offering in those 6 stories, where we have, you're a cyber. A cyber is a type of robot, and your task is to restore the ecological balance of a planet and kind of like restore the wildlife. But this particular robot that you are has actually gained some sentience and is not fully kind of like, let's say, obeying its commands anymore. And yeah, it's a brilliant story as well. Which brings me to, world building. I enjoyed the world building in all of the stories that I have fully read. So that's Harold, Restorer, and Mean mostly. I only sampled the others, but what I've seen of the world building in general, it's really well done, expertly written. The stories overall are well written, much more than I expected, I have to say. Also, at first I thought that this format of reading would really irritate me. So on one level, this is so me, because I'm a visual artist, I like visual stuff. And those stories present me with a ton of visual stuff. As I said already with Harold, no, so you get different types of print, but also your screen might get dark, or you might find that your screen turns green or yellow. You get artwork that's embedded, no? So in Restorer, for example, the robot kind of like goes outside and the screen kind of like gets, like, everything vanishes because your cameras get overloaded and you're blinded. But then when the picture clears, you actually get one of the artworks. And I really love that. I love those elements, and I love that the stories are not like the ergodic literature where I've actually done a video on, which was very much paper-based, but this really uses the digital format. The stories really play with this fact that you as the reader will be reading this on a digital device, either a phone or a tablet. I used my tablet to read them. I found that really very well done, I have to say. No, so it's not just, yeah, you get a story, and you could get the same story if this was a book. No, so this really fully embraces the digital format. And I have to say, I enjoyed that. I didn't think I would, but I actually really enjoyed that. Also, I didn't find it too interruptive to have to make those choices for the character I am when reading the stories. Actually, I found myself with some of the stories coming to a point where I was like, when is my next choice coming up? Where is my next choice? I want to, I want to influence this again. So that worked actually very well for me. I didn't think I would be so invested in making choices to start with. And I also didn't think that I would be, yeah, as I say, looking forward to making that choice and influencing the story. Also, when it comes to the choices, they are real choices. I've had so far only one previous experience with an app that was an interactive story. Again, a fantasy sci-fi story, something post-apocalyptic. And the choices there were very limited. Even if you made, let's say, an outrageous choice, it would eventually bring you back to what the creators clearly saw as their main storyline. This is not the case here. And I have to give Livia Elliot full marks for this. There seem to be really different story threads depending on the choice that you're making. So that's one of the elements. And as I said, I surprisingly enjoyed that. I wasn't really, let's say, critical, but I was skeptical at first because I'm very, very much a paper person. If I have a choice between an ebook and a paper book, if I can get the paper version, I prefer the physical paper book. I do read ebooks, but as I say, they would be second choice. So I was quite skeptical. Would I enjoy that? And one of the really positive takeaways for me is, yeah, I enjoyed reading in this format. Now I hear you say, well, world building and all that visual stuff and that interactive thing, that's all nice and well. I'm a character reader. What about that? What about the characters? Well, okay, so you are predominantly one character and you get the whole story out of that character's POV. There might be other characters that you encounter, but I think overall they're not so well fleshed out, and I think that's really down to the form, not so much to the fact is the author a good character writer or not, but that has really to do with how those stories are presented. It's not like a first person narrative, because I know a lot of people don't like first person. So it's not like that. It's not first person. It's more like an inner monologue, more like a stream of consciousness that you read while you become almost this character. So the way of how this works is somehow between, yeah, let's say a traditional novel and maybe an RPG where you are a character and play a character. And I found actually some interesting stuff out about myself when I was reading those stories. For example, when I was reading Restorer, which is about this, yeah, rogue robot, I found myself more and more going for the more, let's say, rogue option when I get choices. Also, what I found really interesting with the story, to really kind of like get you immersed in this idea that you're a robot, all your choices are actually written like a piece of computer code. And I thought that was a really nice touch. So there is a lot of attention to detail in those stories as well. But as I say, I found myself really going for the, let's say, more anarchic, the more controversial option, the option that would signal that I'm sentient as a robot, that I'm not, that I have some type of option. And I thought, this is interesting, the bias that I'm starting to develop on the basis of what I, as a reader, perceive to be the character's traits. So in that respect, the stories actually, I think, do really very, very well what they set out to do. What's also interesting with the stories is sometimes as a character, you do not get a choice. either there is just one button and that's it, or the other version is you get multiple buttons and they more or less mean all the same. It seems not to make any difference which one you pick. There is like just a fake choice that won't have an impact. And that's done quite deliberate. And I think there are two reasons why Livia Elliot chooses to do that. With Restorer, it's very much, well, you're a machine and you're supposed to react according to your code, and your freedom or your liberty to not do this is very limited. So sometimes you don't get a choice. And yeah, that's hell of a lot frustrating. And I think that's the reason why it's there. In other stories, for example, in Dance With Me is a lot about depression. It's a lot about trauma. And the limited choice there is very much about making you as the reader aware how that might feel, even if you have no experience with this type of, yeah, either mental health problem or have no experience with trauma yourself. You're pushed into this space that people like that experience, and it makes you experience, at least to a very small extent, in a very safe way, the frustrations that somebody like that might feel. And I think that was a very interesting use of this choose your own adventure format, and how the choices in the different stories and in those different worlds with the different characters are working. And again, I found that well done. I wouldn't necessarily say I enjoyed it all the time, but I think this is the idea behind it, not to take away your choices and make you that little bit uncomfortable. One of the things where I at first was not so happy about, and I would like to mention that here as well, is you can't go back and you can't go forward. So the forward chapters are locked until you have completed a chapter, and then the next one will unlock. So there is not like in a book, either physical or ebook, where I have the chance to kind of like just skip forward. And if it's just to have a look to see how long is this chapter and how long do I might take to read this. That I found a little bit annoying, because as I say, that's what I'm used to. And yeah, maybe a bit of like a time indicator would be of interest, because let's say I might have 15 minutes and I might think, oh, what will I read? It's very hard then for me to gauge how long it'll take me to read a chapter in this format. Whereas when I get a normal book or an ebook, I know, oh, it's 10 pages for the next chapter. Sure, I can do this in 15 minutes. So that's a little bit of a drawback. Also, you can't go back. You would have to restart the whole story. Now, there are pros and cons for that. The con, of course, is, yeah, if you didn't pay enough attention the first time round, tough, suck it up. The other thing is, of course, it really kind of like gives you this feeling that you're in the headspace of this character. And if you think about how you think yourself, yeah, the thought is there and the next time it's gone. And sometimes you don't remember, no? So it mimics that as well. So there is that. As I say, I found that a little bit annoying at first, but I got used to it, and after a while I think I stopped thinking about that, because other stuff in the story became more important for me, and just overrides this little niggle, so to say. So what's the overall verdict? I would definitely recommend this. I would say go download the app. As I say, the download is for free. At the moment, it's only available for Android. The iOS, the Apple version, is in development. It's at the moment beta tested, and I think you can pre-order it from February on. So it's on its way. It won't be too long until the Apple version is there as well. But if you have Android devices, I would highly recommend to at least try it out. Apart from a bit of time to play around with it a little bit, there are no costs incurred. But as I say, I would recommend to give this a try. I was very pleasantly surprised with how I got along with the format. Now I also have to say the app is very easy to navigate. There are no problems with anything. And yeah, you might like something where you thought, that is not for me. So you might surprise yourself. So try it. If you want to know a bit more about ergodic literature, you might watch the video over there that I did earlier. And otherwise, thank you for watching. Happy reading and all the best.